Thank you. Welcome to Washington.
Well, he might not be running for a second term, but President Joe Biden is still able to suffer a classic Biden blunder. The 46th president was opening his speech to a group of world leaders when he said, "Thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome to Washington," despite actually being in New York. Welcome to Mad World, our weekly Culture Wars wrap-up. Let's get into it. While he's not being interviewed often, Joe Biden appeared on The View this week where he cracked a joke at Donald Trump's expense.
Then he just wouldn't go. He was like a bug. He just kept being there. He was like a bug right there. So you felt...
Well, it's been a week for the economy as Democratic candidate for the presidency Kamala Harris was busy speaking at the Economic Club in Pittsburgh. The VP is hopeful to cement herself as the woman for the White House who can tackle the economy, especially for the middle class, lower inflation even more, and finally eradicate the cost of living crisis. Although online users have questioned, while yes, it's great that the cost of living crisis is Kamala Harris's top priority, has it been while she's been in office for the last 3.5 years?
So let's start then with the first pillar of an opportunity economy, which is lowering costs. So I made that our top priority for obvious reasons, because if we want the middle class to be the growth engine of our economy, we need to restore basic economic security for middle class families. To that end, the most practical thing we can do right now is to cut taxes for middle class families and individuals.
But does this mean that the Biden administration's policies are included in this statement?
We just need to move past the failed policies that we have proven don't work.
Donald Trump, while addressing a rally this week, claimed that Kamala Harris was suffering cognitive problems.
What the stupidity of these people. We have to get back to a country again. We have to be respected. They laugh at us all over the world. They're laughing at us. And you know what they're really laughing at? Kamala, because they can't believe that she's going to be president. They can't believe. You talk about cognitive problems? She's got bigger cognitive problems than he has, in my opinion. This is how we're going to end the era of inflation and mayhem, misery. Under Kamala and Crooked Joe, we had such misery. Think about what we've been through with the inflation, with the wars all over the world.
Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi snapped back at CNN's Jake Tapper this week when he brought up those claims from the former president.
Donald Trump saying that Kamala Harris has bigger cognitive problems than Joe Biden.
Why would you even cover that? This is a person who's not on the level. He is their nominee for president. He is incompetent. Let's not even talk about the silliness of it all and the weirdness of it all and the assault on women that it is. We're not going to talk issues.
Kamala Harris has taken a leaf out of Biden's book by declining to do many interviews in the campaign season. But the vice president has finally sat for her first major solo interview of the election when she sat down with MSNBC's Stephanie Ruhle. One of the major takeaways from the interview was the VP speaking about Donald Trump's approach to implementing tariffs, despite the fact the Biden administration kept many of the former president's tariffs in place when they were sworn in fact, expanding with an additional $18 billion worth of Chinese goods.
Tariffs aren't unique to President Trump. President Biden has tariffs in place. He's actually looking to potentially implement more. Where do you come out on? Is there a good tariff, a bad tariff?
Well, part of it is you don't just throw around the idea of just tariffs across the board, and that's part of the problem with Donald Trump. Frankly, and I say this in all sincerity, he's just not very serious about how he thinks about some of these issues. And one must be serious and have a plan.
In a post-interview chat on MSNBC, Stephanie Ruhle made a bold claim about Kamala Harris.
Talk about that answer.
I do, but here's what's a little tricky. She doesn't answer the question around if the GOP is controlling the Senate, if she can't raise corporate taxes, where is she going to get the money from, to expand the child tax credit and do all the things she wants to do? And she says, we just have to do it. And that's great, and that's a campaign promise. But the issue is, if it means we're just going to borrow again, then what we're doing is we're just never addressing the deficit. And back in the days when you were a proud Republican, debts and deficits mattered.
Melania Trump has spoken about the assassination attempts against her husband, telling Fox News that the rhetoric and the language used by the Democratic Party are fueling a toxic atmosphere.
The mainstream media, there were a few days reporting about July 13 event, and everything then became quiet. So I had a lot of questions. What's going on? This is not normal. And is it really shocking that all this egregious violence goes against my husband? Especially that we hear the leaders from the opposition party and mainstream media branding him as a threat to democracy, calling him vile names. They only fueling a toxic atmosphere and giving power all of these people that they want to do harm to him. This needs to stop. This needs to stop. The country needs to unite. And I encourage everybody to read my letter that I wrote on July 14 again, because that cannot continue.
Well, in a bizarre situation, Elon Musk has had to publicly deny a relationship with Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. The two are pictured together at a table at the Atlantic Council's Global Citizen Awards dinner, but he also introduced her on stage as even more beautiful on the inside than she is on the outside. Mr. Musk also described her on stage as authentic, honest and thoughtful, while Meloni called the ex-owner a precious genius. A social media user posted this photo titled, "We all know what happened next," to which Elon Musk responded, "I was there with my mum. There is no romantic relationship whatsoever with PM Meloni." Even Elon Musk's mum, May Musk, weighed in, replying to the photo, "I went back to the hotel with Elon."